This indictment came almost 1 full year since the horrific killing. What's your reaction to Grubb's plea here?
So, DeMarco, it's difficult to watch. I think it's going to be really difficult to decide by a jury as well. So he's been charged up with numerous counts, and to take into account how many different theories they have on this. So that's the Ohio law. So there's an enormous amount of counts on him right now. And this is what it's going to come down to. Were his actions reasonable after being struck by that car? If you look at the second officer's body cam, that shows the officer fire once he was being struck by the car. And that's something that they're going to have to decide. Was that reasonable? Or secondly, was it accidental? Fired one round. After being struck, he might have compressed the trigger on that. I don't know. That'll go forward when we figure this thing out. He's got 4 years of service. So he has some time on the job. He's not new to it. But when you look at these things, we teach officers in law enforcement not to shoot at a moving vehicle. But if you're going to be struck by it, then that's a different story, which he was. This is such a terrible crime, and I should say terrible instance, that it's going to take a tough time for this jury to figure out exactly where they want to go with this, because this is really bad.
And again, this is breaking news. We are waiting to learn the plea of that officer there. Bob, Grubb's attorneys say he approached Young on suspicion she was shoplifting and that he was forced to shoot her because she was using her vehicle as a weapon. Based on what we saw in body cam video, is there anything that leads you to believe that this was justified?
Well, I will tell you, it's tactics aside, and those are not tactics that I would employ as a police officer. You don't get in front of a car. And it will come out, should he have withdrawn his weapon as well. And that's jurisdictional, what their rules are. So when you see this, I believe at this point that this was not purposeful. This was just a split-second thing. So that's the way I think this will go, is if the jury believes this was something that not normally done. It's a horrible instance. This is a misdemeanor. It should have never gotten this far.
And we've seen situations like that play out across the country, Bob. So how should officers approach these types of scenarios where suspects are seeming to not comply?
So the verbal commands usually carry the day, which they were doing. However, you want to engage in de-escalation at this point. And the officers began to do that. He had verbal commands, just step out of the car, ma'am. I heard him say that several times, his partner. There was a vehicle nearby, you could have blocked it at that point. So this is all second guessing. This is done every day, making arrests like this. So that's what you want to do. You want to de-escalate, put her at ease to get out of the car, which she didn't want to do. That's what probably would have saved the day here. But things happen for different reasons.
And what is it saying? What type of message is this sending, the fact that this officer is being arraigned on multiple felony charges?
Well, I think it's a call to all other law enforcement to be. This car stop's the most dangerous thing you can do with DeMarco in the police department, because you're walking to up into an unknown environment. You don't know if that person has a weapon. You don't know if they're on drugs. None of these seem to be the issue here, but you just don't know. There's a lot of questions. So you act in a very strong response. Sometimes you pull your gun, sometimes you don't. And most officers, most departments don't tell you when you can, when you can't. So that particular incident where he stepped in front of the vehicle was a mistake. But then again, she refused to stop and she actually hit him. I don't think it was that hard. I couldn't see that. But this is what makes it so difficult. And it sends a message to all law enforcement that tactics matter, be careful, and put yourself in good places.
And Bob, before you go, what can we expect to see inside this courtroom?
I think you're going to see the officer might easily get up on the stand and talk, because he seems to be a genuine and no problems at all in his career. And he's going to testify, I would say. Again, you're going to see expert testimony saying what he should and shouldn't do, and what happened wasn't reasonable. And the big thing is the reasonableness of this. He was put in front of that car. He was struck. You could see, I watched it several times, the body camera. And he was struck, and to what level, and did he have his finger on the trigger? All these things matter, and they're collectively thought through by the jury.
All right, Bob, again, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And for our viewers at home, we are keeping an eye on this arraignment here of an Ohio police officer, Connor Grubb, arraigned on murder charges for the shooting death of 21-year-old Takaya Young and her unborn child back in August of 2023. We'll keep you posted and keep you updated.